Well, folks, things got heated in the House Oversight Reform Committee, and Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett was in the thick of it, holding Republicans accountable when it comes to the millions being spent on immigration in this country and how they are wasting taxpayer money for what she called political theater.
And thank you so much to our governors. And I want to say I apologize. I apologize for the abuse that you are facing in this committee that is supposed to be about waste, fraud, and abuse. And I also apologize for wasting your time, because this is nothing more than political theater. Now, again, this committee is supposed to be about waste, fraud, and abuse. We did not have to have this faux creation of Doge. The committee itself, that is our job. So what I want to talk about is something that the American people may want to know, which is economically, how is this impacting them? These failed immigration policies that are only put on so that they can have a show, because we have a reality show president who seemingly still believes that this is all about TV instead of real lives. So let me talk about something really quickly, because I want to clarify something, because I believe that all of you understand the importance of something like tourism. Are you aware, any of you, are you aware as to whether or not tourism in the United States is anticipated to decrease to the extent that we are estimated to lose $12.5 billion in international vendor spending in just the year 2025?
I can answer as the tourism capital of the country.
I assume you could.
Tourism's already down. It is down in the North Country, where the Canadians refuse to come over because of the hostility toward their country. It's happening in New York City. It's happening at our sporting events here, our theater. There's a ripple effect throughout our entire economy because of the change in attitude that our country, that once welcomed people from all over the world to visit and recreate and to live here, now feels like a very hostile place to them. It is going to have an economic impact on our bottom line, without a doubt.
So let's talk about it a little bit more. So I am supposed to have a number of FIFA games in Dallas, and I am fully anticipating that we are going to have a problem, because I've been receiving phone calls that people don't feel safe coming here. And it's not the immigrants. It's this government that is making them feel unsafe. But let me also do this, because they love to cherry pick. They can find, any one person that has been killed. And if they've been killed by an immigrant, then God darn it, every single immigrant is going out and they are killers. And that is the problem. But they don't want to talk about white supremacy. I don't know how many hearings we going to have about the fact that there's been this one immigrant that killed this one person. And no, I'm not excusing any killings by them or white supremacists. But they haven't had these hearings. We didn't have a hearing on Buffalo and what happened there. We didn't have a hearing on El Paso and what happened there. We didn't have a hearing on Charleston and what happened there. So it's interesting that they pick and choose, because it seems like they love to pal around with the white supremacists, and so they don't want to talk about certain other things. But economically, I want to make sure that we're making this point again, because I know that Governor Pritzker, you were the beneficiary of a lot of things from the state of Texas. And a lot of people believe that Republicans are fiscally responsible, but instead they are actually fiscally irresponsible, because what he spent was a whopping $221 million transporting people from Texas to your state. Something tells me that he could have done something else with that $221 million. In addition to that, I know that there's been some conversations about what's going on in LA, and they want to say that it's riots because they didn't want people to keep talking about, say, the Epstein files or whatever other drama was popping off between the president and his little friend. So they wanted to change the conversation to immigration because they feel like, well, the polling is in our benefit. But let me tell you something. If they cared about making sure we were going to be fiscally responsible, they would tell the American people that it cost them $134 million to send the National Guard to LA for the quote unquote riots that the governor didn't ask for, nor did the mayor of LA ask for. And they sent them over there, and they say that they care about our service members, yet they sent them and they were laying on the floor. They did not provide for food. So I don't know why we would believe that, number one, they want to fix this. They don't want to fix this, because the brokenness is a feature, not a flaw of the system, because it is beneficial to them when it comes to campaigning. If they can't stoke fear, then why are they going to have anybody vote for them? Because that's what people are doing. They're voting out of fear. But Ms. Perryman, we know each other a little well. And I know you got a law degree. And it seems like we all need law degrees in here nowadays to understand the Constitution. So really briefly, I just want to make this point. There is a certain person that was afforded, say, due process. But let's say if, say, Donald Trump had been charged with all of these cases that he got charged with in 4 different jurisdictions, if he wasn't afforded due process, there could have been a possibility that he just would have been locked up and thrown somewhere, right?
That would be a possibility.
And then maybe we wouldn't have a tariff war or anything else that we're dealing with or all the other nonsense. But the point is, he was afforded due process. And regardless of the political opposition, Democrats, Republicans, and independents, I thought, believe that due process should be afforded to everybody, even him.
Due process is for everyone.
Okay, so the Fifth Amendment doesn't say that it's just for the people that are Americans?
It does not.
It says anybody on our soil?
It's for everyone.
Okay, it's pretty simple. I don't know why we are having issues, but I thank you and I will yield.
Well, folks, Pennsylvania Congresswoman Summer Lee, she got in on the action as well, and she didn't hold her tongue.
Always funny the lack of decorum that we get, and people we do drop the gentleman act here oftentimes when attacking women who aren't able to defend themselves with equal time. But that's kind of the theme here, right? Attacking Americans or people who are not able to defend themselves, or at least who Republicans hope can't defend themselves. And that's what we're seeing essentially in Los Angeles. So I would say that this hearing is quite timely. What's happening with ICE and the military in Los Angeles is terrifying, and is directly caused by Trump's policies and his cruelty. It was Trump's overzealous ICE agents who started this specific incident. And now they want us to get bogged down in arguing over the right types of protest or the right types of way or the right way to defend yourself, the mythical perfect type, so that we could ignore that Trump is the one who is escalating all of this. Trump is the one who ordered in thousands of National Guardsmen over the objection of Governor Newsom, something that hasn't been done since 1965. Trump is the one deploying Marines, not on an enemy abroad, but on the American people who are exercising their First Amendment right in this instance. The only opportunity that they have to defend themselves against lawless lawmakers who are imposing cruelty upon them. For a party of so-called law and order folks, they sure are stampeding over people's constitutional rights and intentionally inciting more chaos, more fear, more anxiety, and increasing the likelihood that people will get hurt. In the end, what's happening in Los Angeles is just one of many incidents where Trump and his administration have not given a single damn about people's safety. For one, the ICE and DHS agents that are arresting people and raiding places often don't even have any kind of uniform or identifying badge. They're masked, and they're in unmarked cars. Ms. Perryman, just briefly, why is it so dangerous to have masked, plainclothes ICE agents arresting people?
So I'll just thank you, Congresswoman, for your question. I'll go back to what I said before, that we know our Constitution recognizes and our country recognizes the importance of trust between local law enforcement, the federal government, and governors. And what we're seeing here is a breach of trust. It's an escalation, and it's dangerous for the American people.
Trump said he was only going to go after undocumented criminals, but that's clearly not the case. Whether through incompetence or straight up racial profiling, ICE and DHS agents are wrongfully arresting U.S. citizens. We've talked about it today, and catching these mistakes often happens too late, after an American citizen has already been illegally thrown into another country, and Trump's administration is doing nothing to get them back. These agents are also going into previously protected spaces, as we've discussed, like churches and schools and hospitals. DHS agents tried to get into an elementary school by lying that they had the permission from the parents. That is a cartoonish level of evil. ICE also arrested a Massachusetts high school senior, Marcelo Gomez da Silva, on his way to volleyball practice. Governor Walz, you're a former teacher and coach. Do you think these kinds of actions create instability for students? And do you worry about increasing anxiety of kids coming to school?
Well, thank you, Congresswoman. I certainly do. Creating that safe environment where our kids can come and the expectation is to learn, they certainly do. Once again, there's no reason to use these enforcement actions at those locations when there are other tools. And I think, again, this false equivalency that we do not want violent criminals to be arrested, detained, and go through due process, we do. But hugely detrimental to the educational system, hugely detrimental to a system that is dependent on trust and the goodwill of everyone in that school system. So yeah, it is detrimental.
Thank you, Governor Walz. These same kids getting arrested are often being separated from their families. They are scared. They're alone. An attorney is one of the few resources they had access to that is now being taken away as well. The Trump administration has canceled contracts with legal groups that represent those undocumented children in immigration court. This is going to force thousands of kids as young as 2 years old to represent themselves very quickly as we're running out of time. Ms. Perryman, how's a 2-year-old supposed to represent themselves in court?
A 2-year-old can't represent itself in court, him or herself in court. And I'll just say that we are in court every single day seeking to try to ensure that people have access to legal representation, which of course this administration is really seeking to curtail. They're seeking to ignore due process rights.
I was going to say, would you say that it is due process if a 2-year-old is left to represent themselves?
Absolutely. It's a flagrant violation of our Constitution. It's also something that shocks the conscience.
We'll leave it there. Thank you. I yield back.
Zipporah, one of the reasons why we like to show the full 5 minutes of House members and some of these Senate hearings is because a lot of folks never actually see or hear Black Caucus members in action. People often talk about, well, what are they doing? I don't see them standing up. I don't see them fighting. But these things happen. We know that Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett is trying to become the next ranking member. That is the leading Democrat on this House Oversight Committee. And so, people need to understand that when we talk about the House and the Senate, the rules are different. The power is different. And the reality is you use these hearings to be able to put these facts out there so people are aware of actually what's going on in this country.
Definitely. You can hear it in both of those young ladies, the way they were able to just talk about how harmful this is, how wasteful this is. Even in me working with deaf kids this summer, trying to teach employment skills, their parents are worried. These ICE raids are creating a place where we can give our students the tools they need so they can be successful in the future. And because they're worried about ICE raids and how that's going to impact their families. You're hearing people say, it's not impacting us, so why are we worried about it? But when you see kids and them writing letters and saying that, I may not have access to my friends, or I may have to go back to Mexico or wherever they came from, this is just so disheartening. And to have our leaders being on the front lines, running after positions that put them in oversight committees that will stop some of these things. We are not powerless. We have to get out. We have to be active. We have to unify. And we have to fight for the things that are super important for our kids and for our future. And for a country that has always been built on so many diverse individuals and diverse groups being in this country. Listening to listening to
Reese,
power in what she was saying is so important that we identify that we got to stand up. We can't just be sitting back twiddling our thumbs while they're running our communities, destroying our communities, and agitating protests that are peaceful.
Reese, there are a lot of people. I hear some African Americans, man, this stuff don't involve us. This ain't, we ain't got nothing to do with this here. Folk had better wake the hell up. I've read this the last 2 days, and I know I couldn't wait to read this for you and Greg. And that is Christopher Rufo had posted this on his Substack earlier this week, where he said that at the same time as we saw demonstrated in Portland, Oregon during the George Floyd riots, the agency should dispatch unmarked vans to follow key agitators and snatch them from the streets while the media are not looking. The most effective riot control is to take movement leaders off the field, infiltrate their networks, disrupt the flow of funding, and roll them up in federal investigations. Denying the left trained protest leaders now will create a strong precedent for the rest of the president's term. If these folks don't think that they will do this to Black activists, they are out of their minds.
They've been doing it to us since you think of the Black Panther Party and SICK and all of these other organizations that were infiltrated. They've been doing this to us. This is their game plan. They've always had it. So we can't be.
No, I'm sorry. Well, Reese, go.
Yeah, you know what? It's past the time of hypothesizing about what they plan to do. They are already doing it. These are the people that felt like they didn't go far enough in squashing the Black Lives Matter protest. So they are chomping at the bit, itching to get Black people. Be very clear about that. And I know that there is some sentiment amongst some people, not all, that this is about protesting and, well, Black people don't get out there and protest because that's what they're going to use as an excuse to wrap you up. Oh, no. You don't have to be protesting. You could just be walking home. There was a lady yesterday, it was a white lady I saw 2 days ago who was trying to go to her apartment building who was attacked by the police. So as long as these
That was a black woman from Chile who was on vacation with her child, and they snatched her in New York City and left her daughter there stranded and held that woman for 8 hours. And hell, she was just here on vacation.
Absolutely. Well, and we've seen even it's really racial profiling, but we've seen where American citizens, military officers who are just plain clothes at the time, who are detained. The reality is you don't want to not just end up in South Sudan or Djibouti, but you don't want to be in the crosshairs of these people at all. And so the presence of 4,800 military personnel under the thumb of Donald Trump in any city is a problem. Greg Abbott is, I believe I read, going to unleash 5,000 National Guard in Houston. For what? People are going to be trying to go to Juneteenth barbecues and shit, do some line dances, and yet he's going to be sitting unleashing all of these military people. So even if you're not going to a protest, if you're going to the barbecue, you're going to a picnic, the presence of these forces is a problem for Black people, point blank, period. They don't need an actual reason. Your existence is reason enough for them. And so that's why we're trying to warn people to stay woke, stay prepared, and stay vigilant. If you don't want to get out there and hold protest signs and be on the front lines, okay, but you still need to keep your head on the swivel.
Greg, these Black folk better recognize this ain't about Latinos. This ain't about migrants. No, to Reese's point, they are pissed off with what happened with Black Lives Matter. They're pissed off that it was able to become the first Black protest in American history where a majority of American citizens supported it. And that's why that's why the right-wing media attacked Black Lives Matter with everything they had in 2021. They attacked critical race theory in 2022. They attacked woke in 2023. They attacked DEI in 2024. They are absolutely angry with what I call the third reconstruction. And they said, oh no, we are going to destroy this. Y'all ain't, Black folks, you Negroes ain't having no footprint ever again.
That's their dream. It's a dying dream. This is their death rattle. And like many trapped animals, they are the most dangerous when they are facing their end. The strongest and only consistent diversity, equity, and inclusion grouping in the history of the United States of America is whiteness. The DEI intellectual Christopher Rufo, who if he were a Black man would not be writing or talking about anything, but because he is a white man and a white nationalist, he's promoted and platformed to talk about things he doesn't understand, is giving voice to their fantasy. It's a dying fantasy, but in its death knell, in its death rattle, it is perhaps its most dangerous. I spent yesterday in New York at the Schomburg Center testifying before the New York State Reparations Commission. I was there last year when Governor Hochul, who we saw testifying today there in Congress, signed the bill and the legislation creating the study commission in New York. And as I anticipated, I wrote my remarks, fully anticipating that I would be shouted at from the audience, from the descendants of slaves crowd, which they did. I kind of smiled. It's recorded. It's out there on the New York State website, and you'll see me kind of chuckle and say, I'm here for all the smoke, all the baby smoke. And but I bring it up for this reason. Afterward, I had a long conversation standing outside the Schomburg on 135th and Malcolm X with many of these folks, these freedmen, these ADOS folk, who I embrace because I understand the pain that they're speaking from. But as we had the conversation, which was very amicable, and you know, because we're talking with a spirit of generosity, we all want the same thing. But what melted away from them was any logic connected with this blackface nativism. The idea in New York City, of all places, that you could somehow separate yourself from the multi-ethnic, multicultural polyglot that is New York City and stand on the other side opposite people who are in harm's way exactly like you and who, to your point, are in harm's way exactly like them is absurd on its face, and their arguments melted away. I said all that as a backdrop to this. That House Oversight Committee, which is run by another DEI politician, James Comer, who, if he were a black man, would be excoriated widely for being as stupid as he is. And of course, the Congresswoman from WrestleMania, Congresswoman Macho Man Savage from Georgia, Marjorie Taylor Greene from Georgia, another DEI politician, if she were a black woman, would be widely excoriated. When we saw Summer Lee and Jasmine Crockett do what they are going to do increasingly, and Maxwell Frost on that committee, which is assume leadership in a Democratic Party who is still nursing the fantasy that you can make peace with these white nationalists, which means they are soft white nationalists, it's coming down to this. We will embrace the politics of solidarity, regardless if people want to throw up, well, this person doesn't like this person, or this group said this about this. You know what? Later for that, because these people are in the streets trying to act as if they can sustain this bullying. They're bullies. You know what you do with a bully? You punch them dead ass in the mouth, and politically organizing in the courts, and they will fold like the cheap DEI suits they are. But at this moment, this is not the moment to talk about my friend, my colleague. This is not the moment to turn your back on other people, because they are sending these punk-ass, jackbooted thugs like them three undersized boys that tried to tackle Alex Padilla, and expecting us to respond with, or I. No. Saturday is going to be a showdown, friends. Roland, and I'm Reese, everybody. I mean, I'm saying this as a board, all of us. It's not going to be nice Sunday afternoon downtown Washington, D.C. on the mall. And we may be talking about a very different conversation on Saturday night and Sunday, and then when you come back with the show on Monday, than we are having right now, because they understand one thing if they don't understand anything else. We live in a society where people are not paying attention. It's a meme culture. They're not studying. And so when you show Lee, when you show Jasmine Crockett testifying, you have to, the reason you do that so much is because people are not paying attention, and they will tell you straight to your face that they're not doing what they are doing. It's a time for us to be serious now.
Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase. Listen to what I'm about to tell you. The window to invest in Fanbase is closing. We've raised over $10.6 million of our $17 million goal. That means there's room for less than 6,370 people to invest in Fanbase for the average amount. The minimum to invest in Fanbase right now is $399. That makes you an owner in Fanbase today. Go to startengine.com/fanbase to invest. Why? Because current social apps have taken advantage of users for far too long, with content suppression, shadow banning, harmful racist content, and no real tools for monetization and equity. Fanbase has over 1.4 million users and counting, allowing anyone to reach all their following and monetize their content from day one. Social media is the new TV, and whoever owns the apps that distribute that content have the opportunity to own potential billion-dollar companies. While big platforms with uncertain futures are failing to serve their users, Fanbase is stepping up to fill the gap. Don't wait until it's too late. Invest now, invest for yourself and your future. Go to startengine.com/fanbase and own the next generation of social media.